performative. At least that's what I like to say. That is procrastination. But also, why are you scrolling on TikTok? It's self-care. It counts.
I set up a thing on TikTok that after an hour, it makes me put in a playlist.
No, but then, what's the point?
Tried the thing where it like blocks your phone.
What's the point when you know the pin? You need to ask someone else. Good point.
And then one of those boxes.
Oh, got it! Okay. You're not gonna high five me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh snap! I've clicked something. Sorry. Oh yay! Okay, but I don't know.
You just check if it's working. Check if it's working. It looks like it's working. It looks like it's working.
Okay. Let's ask on the chat.
Okay.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
I went on Monday.
You can actually get everyone to settle down.
No, just go and then your name, your student number, you have to show them your student card.
Jackie College.
Your number plate.
And the game wants to start. Let's start now.
Turn to that again.
It's not working.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us and coming through to our awareness talk today. I just want to quickly, I'm sure most of you know Nicole, right? And she wants to just, spread awareness on SMA, which is spinal muscular atrophy. It's something that she has and she lives with, and she's going to talk to us about her journey today. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Hi guys. So just to let you know that I am streaming. Obviously, you guys won't be in the video, but your voices will be in if you do ask any questions, just so I have everyone's permission. Cool. So, for those of you who don't know me personally, my name is Nicole and I'm 20. I'm a third-year law student, and yeah, I've lived with SMA my entire life. So I'll start off basically explaining what SMA is, just some general details about it, and then we'll do a little candle lighting ceremony just to remember those that we've lost and just to commemorate those that are still fighting our battle. And then I'll just give you a little bit of my story and let you guys know a little bit more about me. So what is SMA? SMA, I could give you a whole list of medical jargon that you're not going to understand, you're not going to comprehend. Well, maybe you will, but it's boring. So when I talk to people, I like to give an example. So everyone has a phone here, right? Yeah. You have WhatsApp, and you know how it works. You send a message, someone else receives it. So if you don't have any data and you send the message, it'll go through, but they won't receive it because there's a block in the system now. There's a block in the connections. Same with SMA. So SMA is a genetic disorder. It's a neuromuscular disorder, and it's known as a motor neuron disorder because we have a lack of protein which affects our motor neurons. So I lack the SMN protein, and depending on how many proteins you're missing, it depends on what type of SMA you have. So my brain knows what to do. My brain knows you need to walk, you need to talk, you need to move, you need to stand, you need to breathe, you need to eat. But it's losing connection between sending the message from my brain to my body. So every muscle that I have is now slowly dying because the messages aren't getting sent. Just like if you have a conversation with someone and the messages aren't going through, that relationship's going to die. Only thing with SMA now is once that muscle dies and that motor neuron dies, there's no way to get it back. And that's why it's a life-threatening disease, because once we get to point break, that's it. There's no coming back from that. It's very dark, very dreary, but I don't let it take over my life, and I'll tell you a bit more about that a little bit later. But yeah, so that's just a bit of the technical stuff of it. So there are 4 different types of SMA. Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, Type 4, and I'll go through them in chronological order. Type 1 is the most severe type of SMA. It's detected very early on in childhood. Normally you see a floppy baby, and that raises concern with parents. So parents will take their kids to the doctor. There's a variety of tests nowadays that we can do, that we can determine what type of SMA you have. But type 1 is so severe that kids don't live to see their second birthday. SMA is currently the leading cause of death in infants. And it's a big thing because I know people who have passed away from it, kids who've passed away from it, who've never got to live life at all because of this disease. So type 1, extremely severe. Kids are struggling just to survive. Type 2 is a more moderate in comparison to type 1, and that is what I've been diagnosed with. So type 2, kids usually get diagnosed between the ages of 9 months to 18 months. I was diagnosed at 2 years, actually on my second birthday, and you don't see it as instantly as birth, but you notice it as your child is as your child is not progressing like other kids are. So I'll tell you now that when I was in creche, I'm a firstborn, so there was no blueprint for how a child is supposed to be. And when I went to creche, my dad and my mom thought everything's cool, she's sorted. But they were called in and just made aware of the fact that your child isn't reaching the normal milestones. So they're like, what are you talking about? No, you're talking nonsense, my child's perfect. Like every parent would say. But they put me on one end of the room and they sat on the other end of the room and called me towards them. And instead of walking or crawling like the other kids were, I was dragging myself on the floor. And that was like one of the first signs. So they explained that that's not normal, you should go get your kid checked out and just make sure that it's all okay. So that started the whole process. But that happened at 2. One thing with type 2 that's quite daunting is when I was diagnosed, the doctors told my parents that I would only live to be 25. And it's difficult to digest, especially as a parent. I can understand having been told that your child will only live to 25 is basically giving them a death sentence at birth or at 2. So it's a bit of a hard thing to deal with, but I've never let it stop me. I never let anyone tell me what I can and can't do, and neither will I let a doctor tell me what I can and can't do. Yes. Anyway, digressing. Type 2, more moderate, not extremely livable, if that's a word. Then we have type 3, which is not as severe, to the point where kids only start to be symptomatic at the age of 8 or 9, where they used to walk, but now they're getting a bit clumsy, they're falling over, they're needing assistive devices, and that's when parents say, okay, let's go check our child out. And that's when the whole process starts for them. And then type 4, which is actually very rare, is adult onset SMA. So very similar to ALS, is you'll only get symptomatic at 40 years or later. So you can go your entire life living and not know that you have SMA, and then at that point your whole life changes, because even though it's much later on in life, you still have the same symptoms. Even though it's not as severe, it's the same sword hanging over your head. So that's a bit of the basics around SMA and the different types. SMA is not curable. It hasn't been curable, and we're praying that a cure does come very soon, but there is no cure for it at the moment. But I'm very grateful to say that we have treatment that's recently been approved by the FDA for public consumption or public use. But if you live in South Africa and you live in the economy that we live in, it's not attainable. The first treatment that was made public is called Spinraza. It is a series of injections through the spine, lumbar puncture. There's, I think, 4 a year. First year, it is $750,000. Every year after that, for the rest of your life, is $350,000. And that is the price tag that we have for the first drug of SMA. Next, we have a miracle drug in my eyes. It's called Zolgen SMA. It's a genetic altering drug. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first of its kind to be that in-depth and drastic towards the gene of a human being. But with that, you can only have it from the age of 2 years and younger, because it changes the whole structure of your genes, that once you get to a certain point of digression, it's not going to do the same. It's not going to have the same effect. Price of that is 2.8 million Canadian dollars. It's once off, thank God, but it's unattainable for so many people, especially people who don't have medical aids. And medical aids, even in America, aren't paying for it. So it's been deemed to be the world's most expensive drug, and it is what parents have to fight for to save their kids, because this is treatment for type 1. So when parents are told your child is not going to live to see their second birthday, the only thing that can help them is a $2.8 million drug, you're going to fight for it, no matter what. No matter how you get it, by hook or by crook, my dad likes to say, he's going to get it. And I've seen it work. I follow a beautiful little girl from Canada, and she just turned 3, and she's walking with type 1. It's crazy, and I cry every time I see her, because I saw her be a floppy baby, and I saw her get the treatment, and I saw her stand, and I saw her balance and walk now. And on her 3rd birthday, she took her first independent steps. So a lot of great things in the medical community, a lot of expensive things in the medical community, but it's progress. And in my mind, no matter how small the steps are, it's progress. So that's the second one. The third one, which I'm very excited for, is called Varsity, which is a syrup you take at home, no medical procedures needed, no needing to go into the hospital 7 times a year, however many it may be. Very accessible in terms of I can do it myself. I can administer the medication myself. It's a syrup you take every single day for the rest of your life. But it is currently looking to be 5.5 million rand per year. Only last week was it approved to be used in South Africa. So it's a big thing, a lot of big moves, but my mindset is all we need to do is get it here in South Africa. Now all we need to do is figure out how we're going to get funding. Now all we need to do is how we're going to sustain that. Small steps, small movements is how we're going to start this progress, because you can't one day just decide I'm going to climb up Kilimanjaro. You have to train for it, you have to work for it, you have to do small baby steps before you take that big leap. And that's my whole mindset around this. So yeah, there's a lot of assistive devices that can be used that also is not covered by medical aid, because spinal muscular atrophy is not recognized on medical aids. We're not prescribed medical benefit. and it's something that we're fighting and something that we're not going to stop fighting for until we get it. But even with that, we're being fought back by medical aids with big lawyers and big pharmaceutical companies who are just not supporting us the way that we need it. So as a community, we're fighting, and I'm trying to get as many people to fight with us as possible, but we're not supported. Simple things like wheelchairs are sometimes not paid for, a cough assist machine, because our lungs are so weak that we can't cough anything out when we have phlegm. When we're choking, we can't cough it out. So we need these devices to help us. It's not paid for. We're not getting the support that we need from the government. We're not getting it from private institutions. It's just not there. And our community is quite small at the moment, but we're a family that we're supporting each other in the best ways that we can. And we're hoping that we can grow our allies. And that's my whole point for today, is just getting you guys to know what our story is, how we live everyday life, and just spreading awareness, spreading some love for the community. So everyone got a candle, right? Every year on the second Saturday of the month of August, we light a candle to commemorate all the angels that we lost and all those that are still fighting SMA. So today I'd love if we could all just light a candle. If you'd like to say a prayer, I would welcome it, but just so you guys now remember those that we've lost. A great friend of mine I lost a few years ago in 2019. He was much older than me. He was such a genuine person, and when I saw him, I never ever saw SMA. His name's Craig Buster. He was my role model, and people always said, don't meet your role models because you'll be disappointed. But I met him before I knew he was my role model. So my candle will always be for him. So I remember you, Craig. I will never forget you. Let's just take a moment. If you would like to pray, you can, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay, guys, Heavenly Father, we want you to surround us here as we come together to congregate, to learn new knowledge, Lord.
Thank you.
To equip ourselves in wisdom, Lord. We ask that you lay your hand over this disease, Heavenly Father, over this infidelity, Lord. We ask you, Lord, to be with those that have been given this journey to walk. Strengthen them, strengthen their hearts, strengthen their minds, because you know why you have given them the trials, the tribulations, because they are having a bigger impact to do your work, to do your will, and show people that there's more to life. We ask you to cover each and every person's hearts, Lord. Each and every person that watches this on the live, may it touch them, may it fuel something in them, drive something in them that will allow them to be assistants to make themselves more aware of things like this. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakasta. So yeah, that's the first half of it, and now I'd like to share my story. So like I said, I am 20 years old. I was diagnosed on my second birthday, which is 14th of March, and I was diagnosed in 2004. And my story starts out pretty good. I had a loving family. I grew up in a lovely home. I went to special needs school, which is open air school, filled with amazing teachers and amazing friends. All of my friends, though, had disabilities, but we never saw it as that. And it's strange because I never realized that until I came here, is people don't see people with disabilities the same. But it's something that we're changing, and it's something that I'm glad that we're fighting for. But yeah, so I went to open air school from pre-primary all the way to matric. I never let life stop me. I've traveled the world. I've seen one of the wonders of the world. I've been up the Great Wall of China. I've seen the Taj Mahal. I've been to Disney World. I've been to the Burj Khalifa and the Burj Al Arab. I have been across South Africa. I've been to Joburg. I've been to Cape Town. I've been to Nyasa. I've been to PE. I have been to Abu Dhabi. And even though the world is created in a way that doesn't support us, my family and I have never let that stop us. We have scaled pavements that are this high with my wheelchair. We have gotten lost in the middle of Dubai with no data, no maps. We have found our way back. We've made friends along the way. We've made memories. We've made a lot of great things. But not all of it was very sweet. I am the child of a broken home. I live with my dad, who is absolutely amazing, and I hope he's watching. He supports my sister and I, who is younger than me. She's 15 at the moment. She does not have SMA. And I'm grateful for that. So she doesn't have to know the struggles that I have to go through, but we don't have the perfect family. And with that comes a lot of struggles along the way. But again, I've never let that stop me. And I think that's my motto for today, is I've never let anything stop me, and I don't plan on letting anything stop me. I finished matric in 2019. I feel very old. I went to my high school yesterday, and all the kids I knew in primary school are in high school now, and I was like, no, don't grow up. Don't ever grow up. Just stay this small. Stay this protected. Stay this safe. I finished as the Ducks of Open Air. I was awarded the Cedric Hilson, which is the award for a student who has overcome the most challenges. And I wear it with pride. I did public speaking in high school. I went and spoke wherever, whenever I could, just like this. I've been doing it since high school. So also, I didn't prepare for today. I was supposed to, but I didn't. Because I wanted this to be a heart-to-heart. I wanted you guys to know me for who I am, not for what I write on a piece of paper or what I prepared at home. I want you guys to know that this is me. Uncensored, uncut, just me. I came to Varsity College in 2020. I'm third year law, as I said. I am kicking butt. I am currently the vice chair of VC Cares. I am events program coordinator of the Juridical Society. I plan on taking over the world someday. And I am just grateful for where I am. So, in ending that, I want to open the floor to any questions that you guys have, because I would prefer you guys to ask a question. No questions too small, no questions too stupid, no questions too irrelevant. I'd rather you guys ask me questions, talk to me, get involved, than make assumptions, because that is the biggest downfall of the world today. It's just making assumptions of people. So, if any of you guys have questions, go for it. Yeah, okay, I'll start you. Yeah.
You know, with stage 4, how
Yes.
you said it is usually diagnosed later.
Yes.
Are there genetic tests that you can take? Like for me, for example, I'm 20. Is it possible for me to go to like a medical clinic and then get tested to see if I could possibly have it?
Yes. So I didn't mention that. Thank you. The test that I did back in the day was a muscle biopsy. So I still have the scar on my leg, but they cut open my thigh. They took a piece of muscle out, and then they sent it for testing. Nowadays, you can do genetic testing, which is done by blood, and that testing goes to a lab, gets tested for the proteins that you are either missing or not, and then with that, you'll be able to say, okay, you have these genes. One thing, thank you for reminding me, is how you get SMA is both parents need to be carriers of the gene. Even when both parents are carriers of the gene, you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting SMA. I won the genetic lottery, just backwards. But yeah, it's a very rare disease, but also not so rare. We don't have we don't have South African statistics yet, but the American statistics is 1 in every 10,000 kids are born with SMA. It's a lot of kids who aren't known, who aren't made aware of, who aren't represented on TV, and are now put to the side kind of way. So it's actually mandate now in America to get tested for being a carrier, or if your child has the gene during the pregnancy stage. So it is I think in most states actually that it's tested pre-birth. But yes, the question in the background, I'll get back to you. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for sharing your story. It was very inspiring, and I hope we could also all inspire all our friends and family members.
Thank you.
I just would like to know, have you got any like fundraising pages or like Instagram that we can actually share your story to the world?
Yeah. So I do have an Instagram page. It's I was very stupid when I created this, but it's Nicole _P143, but there's no I, it's an X. So I'll put it up on the board. I'll put it up on the board just now, so you guys can follow it and share it. We don't have a funding page at the moment, just because personally I'm not in need of funds at the moment, and I'd rather have other people be supported than have funds accumulating for me that I'm not going to be needing or using at the moment. Yeah, it's not necessary, and I think funding like that should only be done if it's dire. But if I do ever need it, I will make sure to make it public. Yeah. Yes.
You know, so once you do get the testing and once you figured it out, is there any ways to prevent it, or is it just something that you know is going to happen?
There's no way to prevent it. You just know what's going to happen. But now with this once-off treatment, if you fundraise it for it and you're able to get it, it's a way to make sure that your child's life is saved. Yes.
Nicole, I want to know, I mean, all of us feel sorry for ourselves at times. Like, we all have days where we're like, oh, you know, like, why? How do you, like, stay positive? I mean, do you have those days? Do you, like, get pissed off and shout?
I think we all do. If anyone says they don't, they're lying. But for me, a big thing is God. I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I'm proud about it. I am very grateful for the church that I have, the community that I have, and the friends that surround me. So if I'm ever in the slumps, I'll message any one of them and be like, listen, talk me out of it. But also I think I've had this mindset since I was very young, where even though I have something very bad in my eyes, someone has something a lot worse. Someone's child is suffering with type 1. So I shouldn't be letting small things like having a bad hair day mess me up for the day, or getting bad grades in a test, and that's something I'm still working on. But small things like that is not something that should now impact my entire day. And I think that's just having that mindset of I'm bad, but someone else might be worse off is a big game changer for me. Yes. Any other questions? Is there any questions online? I can't see the entire chat, but
No, there aren't any.
no. Okay.
Who's the most inspiring person that you have around you?
That's a tough one.
Your dad. Say your dad.
I think inspiring wouldn't be the word I use for my dad. I think supporting and person I love the most is my dad. Inspiring takes on a whole different definition. For me, I think Lisa's on here, and I hope she can hear me. Lisa Bradshaw is phenomenal. If you guys ever get to meet her, you will be blown out of your socks. She has never ever let her disability stop her. She's got type 2 as well. She's much older than me. That is all I'll say. She owns her own business. She has a beautiful daughter. She has an amazing family. She's been married. She's been divorced. She's been married again. She drives herself. She has her own house, which is completely wheelchair accessible, and she can do everything by herself because of that. And that mindset that she has to not let anything stop her is a big game changer for me. And I don't say it enough, Lisa, but I love you, and you really are such a big part in my life. Are there any other questions? Yes? Yeah.
What's the most memorable moment in your life? Like, so you traveled, what's the one that sticks out?
China. It's weird though, because I actually didn't tell you the story of how I got to China. China was not a leisure trip, it was a medical trip. In 2009, we fundraised and we raised R250,000 and went to China for stem cell treatment. And we stayed 40 days in a Beijing military hospital with just families from around the world who were trying to save their kids as well and themselves using stem cell treatment, because at the time that was the only thing that was helping people and saving people. Didn't work for me, and I've always, thanks to my dad, I've always had the mindset that I'm grateful that we tried it and failed than not tried it at all and wondered what if. That what if mentality just irritates me. I'd rather do it now, ask for forgiveness, and then deal with it in the future. But I think that trip, I have like sporadic pieces of memories and stuff from that trip. But like getting up the Great Wall of China was crazy. My dad had to carry me all the way up because there's only stairs there, and it's not straight. It's like all the way up. So it was crazy, but it's also one of my favorite memories. I think I saw a hand in the back. Was there someone in the back? No? Any other questions? Yes.
Are you currently looking at or thinking about doing any other treatments and stuff just to...
So Varsity has just been approved in South Africa, and that's my next goal. But obviously it all depends on funding and if we're able to get it and how we're able to get it. Because like I said, medical aid doesn't cover SMA. So because of that, I'm not on medical aid. I'm a state patient. And the likelihood of government funding us is very slim. So it all just depends on what the process will be, what we have to do as patients in order to get it. But I am starting the process of looking into it, getting the necessary doctors that I need. But yeah. Yes.
Why law?
So, like I said, I'm a product of a broken home. My parents got divorced in 2010, I think. And I was 8, but I was old enough to understand the situation. and understand the necessity of getting it done. And I was old enough to understand and appreciate our lawyer. And Terry, I think that might have been your mom.
I might have been my mom.
Yeah. Just seeing how much that she helped us, it made me just love the law. And I think even for my grade 6 career day, I dressed up as a lawyer. Mainly because I just wanted to look smart and I didn't have anything else to wear. But it just grew from there, and I started studying law, and I would never change it. I say I changed it, but I mean, in my heart, I know I'm where I need to be. My purpose in life is to help people, and whether it's legally or volunteer work, like we do at VC Cares, I'm fulfilling my purpose. It's to the best of my ability.
You might be that lawyer that actually makes it legal to get married.
Who knows?
Yeah. Trailblazer.
Yeah.
Very, very
This
proud.
is like not so much of a question, and it is just praising you. But like there are people without your disease who just throw pity parties and they don't get things done. Or if they did have your disease, they just it's a good excuse. It's a justifiable excuse not to really do much. But you are like defying the odds, and you're involved in everything and anything. And it's really admirable to see you do that. And like you are like probably one of the most inspiring people to me. Just because you can get things done so perfectly and to the best of your ability, like I think we don't have an excuse.
I'm very proud.
Just want to say, Nicole is like one of the most active persons on my VCKS chat. She's always, I don't know, she has the time, how she manages the time, but she does it somehow. Like she told you, she's heading so many different things. She helps so many different clubs and societies, and she mentors first years, right?
I'm trying.
First year, trying to, yeah. A lot of people come to her for advice and stuff like that, so she's got her finger in every part.
I really do. Like VC Cares, Juridical Society, law reps. I try to help out the first years where I can. I'm a youth leader at church. They are my babies. I could never think of life without them. But it's also fulfilling that I never want to not do it. And I think that's what drives me, and it's also what drives me for VC Cares. It's just being there for people. So thank you for that, Shana. Yeah.
You make the most of it.
I hope so.
I'm being able to witness it firsthand.
Yeah.
We're just so lucky to grab
We really are.
Sorry?
Do you have like a spreadsheet or something to keep track of all of this? Because
No.
I do, like,
No.
And I'm so forgetful. How do you just like?
You don't have a diary?
Not anymore because I stopped using it. My calendar on my phone is pretty active, but I mean, other than that, like, it's just like random. Like, okay, you got an SMA talk today. You got open day on Saturday. Yeah, but things like church and stuff, it's ingrained in me now, so I don't need to be reminded about all of that. But like big events and stuff, like VC Cares events that we're planning to do, that's all in my calendar.
I think your brain's like
Yeah.
fascinating. It's like over.
It's like a bookshelf.
It's not a bookshelf. My books are all over my room. Yeah, I have a library under my microwave.
One part of your life has to be messy.
Exactly. So
That's
it's my
smart.
room. Yeah. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. I don't think there's any questions online either.
No.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. We're supposed to be half an hour, but we went a bit over time. But thank you all for your time. Thank you for listening.
You went well.
Could we maybe get a nice picky all together?
Yes, please. Yeah.
A picky. Add your name and add.
Yes.
Add your.
Are you gonna end the live now?
Yeah.
Add your thing as well. This is the actual rice and the veg actually.
Oh, you did so well.
Burn out the